It's happening again. The Lincoln Project has done what they do best, getting under Donald Trump's skin in a way that no one else can. This time, it's not just another political ad. It's a full-scale takedown, and Trump's reaction? Let's just say, it's exactly what you'd expect from a man whose greatest enemy might just be his own ego. Picture this, a high-budget, razor-sharp, hilariously brutal ad that paints a dystopian future under Trump's rule. Gasoline at $84 a pound. Unemployment at a staggering 98%. Schools replaced with bootstraps? It's satire at its finest, one that exposes what the Lincoln Project sees as the ridiculousness of Trump's leadership while making it impossible not to laugh. But here's the kicker. Trump, the man who built his brand on being tough and unshakable, didn't just brush it off. Oh no. He spiraled. He raged. He fired off tweet after tweet, giving the ad even more exposure than its creators could have dreamed of. And now, the internet is in a frenzy. Did the Lincoln Project just expose Trump's deepest insecurities? Is this meltdown proof that he's losing his grip, both politically and mentally? Before we dive into the full breakdown, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because trust me, this is one political firestorm you don't want to miss. So let's start with the basics. What exactly did the Lincoln Project do this time? It all started with an ad that hit Trump where it hurts the most, his fragile self-image. Instead of focusing on policy failures or legal troubles, the video paints Trump as a washed-up, irrelevant has-been. And it's brutal. First, there's Trump struggling to hold a simple glass of water, a clip that has haunted him since his presidency. Then, the infamous slow walk down the ramp at West Point, where gravity seemed to be his worst enemy. And, of course, there's him proudly bragging about passing a cognitive test by correctly identifying an elephant. The message? Trump isn't the strongman he claims to be. He's weak, he's struggling, and most importantly, he knows it. But the Lincoln Project didn't stop there. The ad goes further, mocking his inability to appeal to moderate voters, calling him impotent, a word that's sure to sting, and suggesting that Trump has officially become a joke within his own party. It was a calculated strike, designed to push every one of Trump's buttons. And boy, did it work. Because rather than ignoring it, Trump did exactly what the Lincoln Project wanted him to do. He lost it. 1. And that's where things really start to get interesting. 2. Trump's reaction was as predictable as it was explosive. 3. The moment the Lincoln Project's ad hit the airwaves, his infamous Twitter fingers went into overdrive. It was a meltdown of epic proportions, a digital tantrum so intense that you could practically hear the phone keys being smashed in frustration. We've seen Trump angry before, but this was different. This was personal. Instead of brushing it off like a seasoned politician, Trump did what he always does when someone bruises his ego: he made it 1,000 times worse for himself. Tweet after tweet, all caps rants, furious reposts. It was like watching a 5-alarm fire fueled by pure narcissism. One moment he was attacking the Lincoln Project, calling them a bunch of washed-up losers. The next, he was ranting about Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and even Ron DeSantis, because why not? 1. It was an emotional roller coaster of paranoia, insults, and deflection. 2. But the best part? 3. With every tweet, he was amplifying the Lincoln Project's message. The ad was already gaining traction, but Trump's unhinged response turned it into an overnight sensation. Suddenly, millions of people who might have never seen it were flocking to watch it, just to see what got him so mad. And that's the irony. If Trump had just ignored it, the ad would have disappeared in a day or two. 1. But now? 2. It's viral. It's everywhere. It's on every major news outlet, spreading across social media like wildfire. And Trump himself is the one making sure of it. Political analysts, comedians, even late-night hosts are tearing into him. While Trump was setting social media on fire with his all-caps rage tweets, the real panic wasn't coming from him. It was coming from inside the Republican Party. Because here's the thing, 2024 was already a disaster for the GOP. The Trump brand, once seen as a juggernaut, is now a massive liability. 1. Every time Trump loses control, it becomes harder and harder for Republicans to defend it. 2. And this meltdown? 3. This was the worst kind. Why? Because it wasn't about policy. It wasn't about Democrats. It was about his ego. The Lincoln Project, a group of ex-Republican strategists who now dedicate their lives to trolling Trump, just proved, once again, that the easiest way to break him is to mock him. And if there's one thing Republicans hate, it's weakness. Behind closed doors, reports started leaking. Top Republican donors are freaking out. One anonymous strategist was quoted saying, "We cannot afford another 2016 circus. If he keeps doing this, we are dead in the general election." Some Republican lawmakers, even ones who publicly support Trump, were reportedly shaking their heads, texting each other about how bad this looks. 1. Because let's be honest, if Trump can't handle a simple ad without losing his mind, how is he going to handle another presidential campaign? 2. His strongest selling point was always strength. 3. But now? 4. He looks weak. And it's not just Republicans who noticed. Democrats are loving this. They don't even have to do anything. Trump is sabotaging himself. His inability to let even the smallest criticism go is turning into his biggest political flaw. But here's where it gets even worse for him, because the real nightmare for Trump isn't just bad press. It's losing his grip on his own party. And that's exactly what's starting to happen. 1. Because while Trump is ranting on Twitter, screaming about losers and fake news, some Republicans are asking a terrifying question, for him, at least. 2. Do we really have to keep doing this? 3. And that is Trump's biggest fear. 4. Because the moment the GOP realizes they don't actually need him anymore, that's the moment his entire empire collapses. 1. So the real question is: 2. How long until Republicans start looking for an exit? 3. For years, Trump's biggest weapon hasn't been his policies, his speeches, or even his rallies. It's been his cult-like hold over his base. No matter what he did, no matter what scandals he faced, his supporters stood by him. But now? 1. That grip might be starting to slip. 2. And it's all because of one simple truth. 3. Even MAGA supporters can smell weakness. Think about it. Trump built his entire brand on being the tough guy, the one who fights back harder than anyone else. But what happens when that image cracks? What happens when his supporters start seeing him as just another thin-skinned politician who can't handle criticism? That's the real danger here. Because this Lincoln Project ad? It wasn't a policy attack. It wasn't about Trump's economic record. It wasn't about his foreign policy. It was pure, raw mockery. And instead of brushing it off, Trump lost it. He fed right into the trap. He let the world see him get rattled by a joke. And for a movement that prides itself on owning the libs, how do you justify following a leader who's this easy to troll? Even some of Trump's most diehard supporters started raising eyebrows. Conservative influencers who used to worship him started whispering things like, "This isn't the same Trump from 2016. He's acting desperate. Why is he so obsessed with these guys?" And then came the ultimate betrayal. Elon Musk, one of Trump's biggest unofficial allies, liked a tweet mocking Trump's response. Let that sink in. Elon. 1. Musk. 2. The man Trump has praised over and over again. The man who reinstated Trump on Twitter. Even he couldn't resist taking a jab. And the MAGA world noticed. 1. Trump's hardcore supporters started attacking Musk in the replies, accusing him of being a secret liberal and disrespecting the former president. 2. This isn't just a bad news cycle. 3. This is a MAGA civil war brewing. 4. Trump's base is watching him struggle in real time. And for the first time in years. Some of them are wondering if maybe, just maybe, he's not as untouchable as they thought. This wasn't just some random attack ad. This was a carefully calculated psychological operation designed to push Trump's buttons. And guess what? It worked. The Lincoln Project knows Trump better than most politicians do. They know exactly what makes him tick, what triggers him, and, most importantly, how to make him self-destruct. So let's break down their masterstroke step by step. Step 1. The setup, humiliation over policy. Most anti-Trump ads focus on his policies, scandals, or corruption. 1. But the Lincoln Project knew that wouldn't hit him where it hurts. 2. So instead, they went straight for his ego. 3. They mocked his physical struggles, his awkward water drinking moment, his slow walk down the ramp. They belittled his intelligence, playing clips of him bragging about passing a cognitive test. They called him weak and impotent. It was a direct assault on Trump's self-image, his biggest vulnerability. And it worked perfectly. Step 2. The trap, forcing Trump to react. The Lincoln Project knew that Trump has no impulse control. They knew he couldn't ignore an insult. 1. So they pushed just hard enough to make sure he would respond. 2. And sure enough, within hours, Trump took the bait. 3. Instead of ignoring the ad like a normal politician, he erupted into a full-blown meltdown. He raged on Truth Social. He demanded retribution. He insulted everyone involved. In other words, he did exactly what the Lincoln Project wanted. Step 3. The amplification. Let Trump do the marketing. Here's where the real genius comes in. Trump's meltdown didn't just prove the ad's point, it made it go viral. Before Trump reacted? 1. The ad had a few 100,000 views. 2. After his rant? 3. Tens of millions. He turned a niche attack ad into a mainstream story. And the best part? Every tweet, every post, every rant made him look even weaker. It was like watching a boxer punch himself in the face, over and over again. Step 4. The fallout, a permanent crack in Trump's image. Now, here's the big question. Will this actually hurt Trump long term? 1. The answer? 2. Maybe. 3. Here's why. It exposed a weakness. For years, Trump's brand was built on strength, dominance, and control. This ad ripped that image apart. It created doubt in his own base. When even MAGA diehards are questioning his stability, you know he's in trouble. It proved he's easy to manipulate. The Lincoln Project just showed the world that Trump can be trolled into self-destruction. And if there's one thing Trump's biggest enemies are good at, it's exploiting weakness. So the real question isn't whether this ad hurt him today. It's whether this is the beginning of something much, much worse. If Trump had just ignored the ad, it would have faded away in a few days. 1. But Trump doesn't know how to ignore anything. 2. And that's why this meltdown might haunt him for a long, long time. 3. Trump's social media eruption, a masterclass in self-sabotage. As soon as the Lincoln Project ad dropped, Trump went nuclear. His Truth Social account turned into a never-ending tantrum. Here are some of the highlights from his now infamous meltdown. He called the Lincoln Project a bunch of losers and claimed no one watches their garbage. He ranted about how he's the strongest, smartest, most successful president in history. He blamed the media, accused Biden of election interference, and even took a shot at Fox News for not defending him enough. He tried to flip the attack, claiming the ad made Biden look worse than him. 1. But here's the problem. 2. Every time Trump posted about the ad, it got more views. 3. Every time he raged about it, more news outlets covered the story. He turned a political hit piece into a must-see viral sensation. The internet's response, roasting Trump on a national scale. Social media tore Trump apart. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, everyone had a field day. Some of the top trending jokes. Trump just rage quit the presidency. Lincoln Project lives rent-free in Trump's head. If this guy can't handle a joke, how's he gonna handle China? Why does Trump always prove his critics right? Even late-night comedians jumped in. Stephen Colbert, Donald Trump is so mad at this ad, he's considering suing Lincoln. The president, not the project. Jimmy Kimmel, Trump says the ad is a total lie. But he's still suing them for telling the truth. Trevor Noah, if Trump spent half as much time running the country as he does beefing with Twitter accounts, we might actually be okay. Trump's allies scrambled to do damage control, and Trump's own people started panicking. MAGA influencers tried to spin the meltdown, calling the ad a deep state operation. Fox News downplayed it, refusing to air clips from the ad to avoid giving it more exposure. Trump's team begged him to stop tweeting. But Trump? 1. He kept going. 2. Doubling down. 3. Throwing more fuel on the fire. Proving every single point the Lincoln Project made. At this point, it wasn't just an ad mocking Trump. It was a full-blown, self-inflicted disaster. The final blow, when even Republicans start laughing. The worst part for Trump. Some Republicans found the ad funny. Even his own allies couldn't defend him. One anonymous GOP senator reportedly told a journalist, "Look, I love the guy, but when you fall for an obvious troll job, maybe it's time to rethink your strategy." Another conservative pundit said, "Trump just made the Lincoln Project the most relevant they've been in years." And that's the irony. Trump desperately wants to crush the Lincoln Project. Instead, he just made them more powerful than ever. And worse? He showed the entire world exactly how to push his buttons. Because if one attack ad can send him into a multi-day meltdown, imagine what happens when the next one drops. At this point, Trump had two choices. Let the story die down and move on. Keep feeding the fire and make it even worse. Guess which one he picked? Trump's endless rage, a self-inflicted wound. Instead of cutting his losses, Trump kept attacking the Lincoln Project for days. He called them human scum in a 2 a.m. Truth Social rant. He demanded an investigation into their funding. He threatened lawsuits, even though he's lost almost every lawsuit he's filed recently. He accused them of being secretly funded by the Biden campaign. And each time he posted, guess what happened? The ad gained more views. More people heard the message. More Americans saw Trump losing his mind over it. It became one of the most viral political ads of the year. And here's where it gets even funnier. The Lincoln Project goes for round 2. Seeing how badly Trump reacted, the Lincoln Project did what any smart trolls would do. They made another ad. And this time, they didn't hold back. The second ad mocked Trump's meltdown directly, featuring clips of his Truth Social rant set to circus music. An AI-generated voice reading his tweets like a dramatic Shakespearean monologue. A parody Trump rage cam zooming in on his furious facial expressions. And the final shot? A message on the screen. Mr. Trump, if this ad makes you mad, just wait for the next one. Trump takes the bait again, the never-ending cycle. You'd think Trump would have learned his lesson. No. Instead, he launched into another meltdown. More late-night rants. More legal threats. More free promotion for the Lincoln Project. At this point, it was like watching a cat chase a laser pointer. Every time the Lincoln Project put out a new ad, Trump reacted exactly how they wanted him to. And every time he raged online, they made more money in donations. It was the perfect trap. And Trump fell into it. The Lincoln Project's victory lap. By the end of the week, the Lincoln Project was celebrating. There it got millions of views thanks to Trump's reactions. Donations to their group skyrocketed as anti-Trump voters rallied behind them. The media declared them the clear winners in the fight. Even some Republican strategists admitted, Trump walked right into a disaster. A former GOP campaign manager summed it up best. The Lincoln Project pulled off the easiest troll job in history. And Trump played right into it. What happens next? With the election heating up, this moment proved one thing. Trump is still his own worst enemy. He can't let go of grudges. He amplifies his critics instead of ignoring them. He takes the bait every single time. And now, every anti-Trump group in the country knows exactly how to trigger him. The Lincoln Project isn't stopping. Democrats aren't stopping. And Trump just showed them all his biggest weakness. A fragile ego that they can manipulate anytime they want. So the only real question is, what happens when the next attack drops? Because if this one set Trump off so badly, the next one could break him. At this point, it's not just about a single ad. It's about what this meltdown revealed. For years, Trump's biggest strength was his ability to control the narrative. 2016, he dominated media cycles, turning every scandal into a spectacle that benefited him. 2020, he weaponized the culture war, keeping his base loyal despite losing the election. Post-presidency, he turned his legal troubles into a rallying cry, convincing supporters that he was a victim of a witch hunt. But now? Something feels different. For the first time, he's not in control. And this Lincoln Project disaster? It's just a symptom of a much bigger problem. 1. Trump's growing isolation. Even his allies are pulling away. Look around. The support system that once protected Trump is starting to crack. Fox News isn't rushing to defend him like before. Key GOP leaders are quietly distancing themselves. Even some MAGA influencers are questioning his judgment. And why? Because they see what's happening. They see a Trump who is more erratic, more obsessed with petty fights, more vulnerable than ever. They see a leader who spends more time ranting about old grudges than building a winning strategy. And in politics? That's a death sentence. 2. The DeSantis factor, a new challenger waiting in the wings. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Ron DeSantis. For months, Trump has bullied him, mocked him, tried to bury his 2024 chances. But this Lincoln Project meltdown? It was a golden opportunity for DeSantis. While Trump was losing his mind over a troll job, DeSantis was quietly meeting with top GOP donors. While Trump was screaming into his phone at 3 a.m., DeSantis was positioning himself as the more stable conservative leader. And while Trump was proving, once again, that he's a walking liability, DeSantis was winning over Republicans who are sick of the chaos. 3. The deep state playbook. Are they using Trump against himself? Here's a wild theory. What if Trump's biggest enemies aren't the Democrats, but the Republican establishment? Think about it. The Lincoln Project is run by ex-GOP strategists. Fox News has started promoting DeSantis more than Trump. Mitch McConnell and other Republican elites aren't backing Trump the way they used to. What if the GOP is setting him up to fail? What if they're letting him self-destruct, feeding his worst impulses, and waiting for the moment they can finally replace him? Sound crazy? Maybe. But after watching Trump walk straight into this trap, can we really say it's impossible? Final thoughts. Is this the beginning of the end for Trump? Here's the reality. This Lincoln Project fiasco won't sink Trump overnight. His base is still loyal. His influence is still huge. But this meltdown? It's a warning sign. A reminder that the man who once seemed invincible is now making mistakes he never would have made before. A sign that his enemies have figured out how to trigger him, over and over again. And the biggest question of all? How many more self-inflicted wounds can Trump survive before even his most loyal supporters start looking for the exit? Because make no mistake, if this is the beginning of Trump's downfall, this is exactly how it starts.